Oh, the choices. The choices! This is C Fiasco coming to you with another video. Day 1000 of quarantine. And I hope you guys are safe. No inventing reasons to go outside. You're just bored.
You want me to go talk to her? I can leave my phone in the car. I'm gonna go get it.
You can't go out there.
Why?
Guess what, bitch? Coronavirus!
Stay your stupid ass inside. I'm coming to you in this video, commenting on the war that's been waging through consoles. PS5 versus Xbox One Series X. Both looking awesome, so I hear. I've stayed away from news purposely because I get pretty toxic on these ones.
How the fuck did you steal? Because I had the fucking plunder chest. I had to use it. You know what? I have a fucking dueling gun, but I have to fucking use it!
Every time there's a feverish debate over PC and consoles and blah 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 and the economics behind both, I get so fever pitched that it becomes really just toxic.
I'm always right. It's like when I'm right, I'm right. And when I'm wrong, I could have been right. So I'm still right because I could have been wrong.
That makes sense.
Half of this is because, as fun, I like to look behind the scenes at a lot of this stuff. And usually when I get in conversations, it's people who are looking at surface level and how they feel about it. And it gets kind of frustrating because you're like, I know what they're doing. I know what their rollout's about. They're trying to generate this feeling in you. This is exactly what the marketing campaign is for, bro. This is what it is. I think it'd be fun today because I'm in that spot. This is just how I feel about it because I haven't looked at anything. I've pulled up a couple of articles right now and I've read maybe, honestly, 20 to 30 minutes before I push record. And that's just me reading and having my morning cup of coffee. So this is what it is. Now, I pulled this article. It's one of the first ones that came up. It's from GameSpot. And all I saw was this graph. So I immediately gravitated towards it. But I think it'll be cool. So far, what we have here, like I said, I've seen this a little bit before, and it was just to present my thoughts in an articulate fashion and not ramble, which probably still will happen, but I'm trying to cut it down. So the processor in the PlayStation 5 is an 8 AMD Zen 2 CPU cores clocked at a variable frequency of 3.5. A variable frequency means that it can spool up to 3.5. It will stay at a resting gigahertz of something, and then when it's under demand, it will spool up to 3.5. Xbox Series X has an 8 AMD Zen 2 CPU, similar, cores clocked at 3.8. So they are winning in specifications and hardware. Xbox Series X, that's a blow. That means it will be faster. Graphics, 10.28 teraflops, 36 CUs clocked at a variable frequency of 2.23. We get that again, that 2.23 isn't where it rests. It could be anywhere. It just, the graphics card will spool up to that under load. The Xbox Series X, this one floored me. 12.16 teraflops. To put that in perspective, my 2070 here is about 7.58. A 2080 is about 9, and a 2080 Ti, that's 2080 Ti area, I believe. I don't really know how teraflops work that well.
What? Bullshit.
So we have, both of these are well above the card I even have. If Xbox can do that, 12.16 at one point, at a constant, not even variable, 1.825, Jesus Christ! RAM, 16 gigabytes, both of them of GDDR6, so a new plateau of memory, I guess. I don't know why y'all get all this? Y'all councils. I'm the PC master race. Y'all shouldn't be getting all this, bro. It's almost as if I've been in the PC master race to look down upon you. But now that we equals, yet you are my better. I feel broken. Storage, 828 gigabytes of SSD. Xbox Series X, 1 terabyte, so more space. Expandable storage, NVMe SSD slot, which I don't know why PlayStation would go with that, because console users tend to like simplicity. I don't know if you want people fooling with that kind of tech. Like, so NVMe slot is like a memory card that's flat and it kind of sticks into your motherboard. Telling your common user to do that, and everything sounds really degrading. I get why people hate PC people. Everything sounds degrading. But telling your average console user to fool with that is kind of like, you know, buy at your own risk. I mean, I don't know. Xbox Series X, 1 terabyte Microsoft expansion slot. A much safer option, taking the scare out of expanding your memory. However, like I said in one of my previous videos, I don't agree with them making proprietary hardware to expand your memory. So like if memory does come down, you still have to play what they want for their hardware and their peripherals. It's kind of like the Apple logic here. We fabricate the need for these new peripherals and hardware, and you can't use them with our stuff unless you buy it. I don't like them being in control of that. Optical drives, 4K versus 4K Blu-ray, don't care about that. I/O throughput, which is, I believe, the megabytes per second that data is processed. 5.5 gigabyte a second. 8.9 gigabyte a second compressed, is that right? Xbox Series X, 2.4 gigabytes a second, which is good, and 4.8 gigabyte a second compressed. Holy, is that right? That can't be right. I'm gonna come back to that one. That's weird. Max output resolution, 8K versus 8K. And max refresh rate, 120 hertz plus 120 hertz. I'm gonna level with you. They're not gonna be able to reach this. They're not gonna be able to reach this sufficiently. Okay, so there'll be some games that will reach 8K and 120, but they're gonna have to be in-house made first-party games. They're not gonna be this like universal experience with anything you play on it. To get that kind of stuff, you're gonna need a PC and a good monitor, or a really expensive TV. It's not, those are on both counts, those are there's not fabrications, but they're like at best in very, very small scenarios we've been able to achieve this. Don't fall for it. VR support for the PlayStation, yes. Unconfirmed but doubtful for the Xbox. And I doubt that. I think they'll have something to fill that gap. Cloud gaming, unconfirmed but likely PlayStation Now for the PlayStation. Makes sense. And Xbox Series X is Microsoft Project xCloud, and this is a big one. This is a big, huge win for Xbox Series X. This is kind of what you want. You want an infrastructure that is very friendly to consumerism, and they've proved it. There is no like question that their business model for Game Pass and how Project xCloud works, given that they've let you test the beta right now, yeah, it's just a superior infrastructure. I mean, PlayStation needs to catch up. Also, where PlayStation needs to catch up, backwards compatibility, which is yes for the PS4, but I think the last time we heard it was 4,000 titles. Xbox 360, and Xbox One with the Xbox Series X. Once again, doing that consumerism-friendly approach. Experience all of the legacy of Microsoft in one house. The dimensions for the PlayStation 5, we don't know. It is unknown. We do have the Xbox Series X with its box tower. I think that's a draw. I think PlayStation 5's not doing itself any favors, not revealing what it looks like this close to when it's supposed to release, which is holiday 2020. And Xbox didn't do itself any favors by letting people know that it's pretty much giving you a computer, and their pricing is going to either really help or really damage the sale of this thing. Now, storage, I read a little bit about this during the making of this just a second ago. And apparently the PS4 storage is a first-party built revolutionary architecture where it can do those speeds, which is amazing. And Xbox's typical write speed of an SSD. I want console people to beware that they're making this sound a lot more exciting than it is. The only one that is exciting in these two is the PlayStation. I've never, write times like this, that's kind of ridiculous. Those are like very expensive SSDs. So I'm guessing they have an architecture somehow to keep the cost down. I'm actually thinking this will help me in my PC era, because if they're providing this on consoles, I don't know if they can charge prices for what they're doing on these SSDs here. The revolutionary way that it's writing speed to games, I guess, is helping developers and all that kind of stuff. Xbox is nothing to laugh at. It's an SSD, a powerful one at that. It's going to be dope. Once again, it comes to how fanatical you are about little things. Do you like for the Xbox, if you graphical fidelity and processing power are a big thing, you're going to gravitate towards that. PlayStation, if you want a more refined approach to how your games are developed, I guess you would go that way. So far, we don't know. Controller. So this I read about too. This generation, anytime I'm playing a PC game, this is what I use. Tried and true. it's the way the weight is distributed and how it fits in my hand. It's just really easy to get stuff off and kill things and whatever. PS4 wins in one area with how the feedback for the joysticks and the triggers are. I prefer this. I prefer the shape and feel of this. And they weren't fooling around. They just said, we're gonna do this again. So obviously there's gonna be some differences. I know that they're including like a system level thing where they have like a share button or a concept button or whatever it is. Something that Switch and Sony have already done. Well, that's good. And I agree with them. They don't need to they don't need to reinvent the wheel right now. This is good. This is really good. PlayStation, however, went balls to the walls. So this controller, dubbed DualSense, not DualShock, kind of has the haptic feedback, the same thing as the Xbox controllers have introduced. Apparently on crack. The adaptive triggers are apparently very sensitive and very accurate. They like drawing a bow to shoot an arrow. That's gonna be awesome. And like they said here, they tried this with so many gamers for such a long time and came out with this, which is pretty much, if we're honest, they made the thickness and weight of an Xbox controller with the benefits of what I was talking about, the triggers and the feedback on the joysticks here. So they pretty much merged everything into one great one. But yeah, they've tried this for a few years before settling on this design. That'll bring up a point that I'm going to bring up later. Remember that they've been trying this for a few years. Playable games at launch. I'm not even going to look at this one. I know that Xbox, so they're not going to have first-party exclusives for a while. I guess their mode was try to throw shade at PlayStation for having exclusives and present it as an anti-consumerism angle, which I really don't understand, but I digress. There's also this tidbit, and if I've read, this is probably the 10th article I've read on this, and it's developers prefer PS5 to Xbox Series X, and it pretty much comes down to the way the architecture of the console is, and building games is just easier. You can see this graph that was taken at GDC. PlayStation 5 with 38%, Nintendo Switch with 37%, PC with 50%. You can see mobile right there, which disgusts me, with Xbox One X at a 16. If you go read a bunch of these articles, they're going to be saying a lot of the same. First, I think it's important that we all admit our bias here and which one we want to win. Obviously, I'm a PlayStation. I know Will and Z are Xbox. I know I have a couple of friends who just PC needs to win over everything. But I would say, objectively speaking, if you want to know what won this console, I would think it would be the Switch. I think the Switch was a console that was so surprising when it beat out the others for like 2 years straight. It didn't compare in specs. It didn't compare in specs at all. It was a practical approach to gaming. It was developed because they knew their base. They developed specifically for their base. They did all the things they knew that their base would like, and they ran with it. And they succeeded heavily because of that. Which is why next generation, I'm gonna have to side with PlayStation. Now, I know I've been singing the Xbox's praises this whole time. However, I think you have to roll with me on one thing. This list here demonstrates how much Xbox Series X kind of blows PlayStation out the water. I mean, I won't say out the water, it's very minuscule, but it's there. It's a definite lead. However, this, like if you remember the Xbox One X was their try to do the same thing last generation, where the PS4 Pro came out to refine itself. It seemed like Xbox's method was to say that we are just stronger than the PS4 Pro, which I don't think they understood what the PS4 Pro was doing. Yes, it was a cash cow. Yes, it was gross, but that's all they were doing. Xbox saw this as a war of a new console war, and they put out the Xbox One X to compete with it, which was the most dynamic, strong thing ever, but they failed to realize that PlayStation was refining its approach to its customer base, and Xbox was still trying to win, trying to get over that hump or that ass whooping they got last generation. This is where Switch succeeded in both of them. They came out with a very smart console that destroyed everybody in practice because it was with people in mind. And this is where I get to with this list. I think PlayStation, the same thing I brought up with that controller where I said they've tried things for a few years. I think PlayStation had such a lead that they have had their PlayStation kit in tuck for a while now. And I think they have been finding the sweet spot. I think that's why developers are having such an easier time developing with it. I think that's why the controller has gone through 3 years of testing. I think they've had this in the tuck for a long while. All that, like, I think they have a more refined system. It's the same when the Switch was saying, yeah, we only have 720 display on mobile. They were very honest about it. People came at their necks. If you look up the articles, people came at their necks about that, but they were like, we don't care, we got it. We know you better than you know yourselves, and we know how you're gonna use these things. This new Series X can't be their end all be all. That's why I think they're pushing Project xCloud, great, and their Game Pass and the infrastructure with Windows, Xbox Marketplace with Windows. All these are great and dominate PlayStation 5, but the reason for their announcement and their being the lead announcement is because I think they know they lost in this one. It's all about what you define console as, and I've always defined console as elite type performance at cost and uniformity. This is not uniform. This won't be cost. This is not practical with the shape of it. I don't know. The name of the game is all about the use I can get out of it. And if I have a really powerful machine that's still proprietary software that Xbox controls, I don't really want them to give me a PC that I can't fully control. I'll just buy the PC. But that is my thoughts. Let me know if I missed a step. Let me know which console you're gonna choose. Maybe you'll choose a Stadia. Don't choose the Stadia. Let me know your opinions down in the comments. As always, it's been fun. Really wanted to make this one for a long time because I've been itching to read about it. But I will see you next time.